Welcome to the Erin Cruz Show. Tonight we have a wonderful guest. His name is Mike Simpfenderfer. He's running for California State Assembly District number 58. Yes, he wants to do the hard work, get the job done up in Sacramento, San Francisco, Sacramento. You know, the thing is we have a lot of problems in California right now. We need strong solutions and strong men and women who will do
Absolutely.
the hard work. You know, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I found on Mike's website. I really like what he has to say, particularly this excerpt. It says, and this is again from his website, "The politicians embarrass us nonstop. Sexual assault runs rampant in Sacramento. Millionaire Christina Garcia has been taking Larry Flint's money since 2013. Criminal investigations investigate those who we are supposed to trust. Politicians lining their pockets seems to be normal. As the days go by, it appears Sacramento is a predator's paradise and a pervert's playground for the politicians. As someone who lives and works in Bellflower, we need leadership we can look up to and trust. We face serious problems and need serious people willing to get to work for us." I love that, for us.
Yes.
"I'm asking for your trust and your support. November 6th, I care about us." And I think that is so important, those points you make there. It's all about trust. We elect people to go up there and we trust that they're going to do the hard work and get the job done. Thank you for being on the Erin Cruz Show. We're just so glad you're running.
And I wanted to say, a lot of times the politicians, they've forgotten this is not their office. The
Absolutely.
people own the office. We are asking to be hired, and we are asking for the privilege to be able to work on their behalf.
Right.
And I think we've got too many people sitting up in Sacramento who seem to think it's their right, they're entitled to go do what they want to do, regardless of how it impacts us.
Right, right. And that's why I like the idea of people, you know, not politicians, patriots, not politicians, you know, people who live in the real world and understand we have serious problems. And you talk about that. And the leadership, they're not leading by example. Our children look up to these individuals who are in these sorts of offices and positions of power. And what kind of example are these people leading? Now, you're up against an incumbent, and I mean, what are you seeing there in your area in District 58? Are you seeing that the people are really warm to having new leadership?
It's just they're embarrassed, and it makes them upset because we've received international attention for all the wrong reasons. We've received national and international attention because there's a kegerator in the office. So you can stop by and have a cold beer. I'm sorry, the kegerator's going. You can stop by the office and have a cup of coffee, a glass of iced tea, or some water. When you bring children to your office in the 58th Assembly District, starting in a couple months, you won't be ashamed. You won't have to worry about hearing the S word, the F word, the word homo being used. And she has admitted in her own language, in her own terms, on KQED radio station, that's the language that goes on in her office. I'm sorry, that's not a professional office. The people deserve better. They'll be able to come into their office and sit down, no matter where their views are, whether they're agreeing, disagreeing, and be able to say, do you have a couple of minutes to listen to why I think about this issue? And we're going to listen. We have a lot of people that need a lot of help dealing with state government, and there's hardly anybody there to help them because she is dealing with nonstop depositions, discovery. She's got a second investigation going on for sexual harassment, and Lord knows what she's going to be dealing with in the next couple of years as all the lawsuits go forward against her for her behavior.
Right. And you know, this is just busyness. We need real solutions here in California. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're from the most prosperous area or you know, agricultural area. It doesn't matter if you're in the border region. All throughout the state, we have serious problems, and we need the work done. We don't need this busyness.
What amazed me is this legislature figured out how to criminalize the straw.
Right.
But yet we have over 10,000 convicted felons, which means we know their name, We know their information. We know where they're supposed to live. They're armed. But yet, we get excuses as to why we can't seem to go and pick these people up. So you know what? Let's do like we do with Megan's site. We want to know where the perverts live. You go look for the blue dots off the AG's website. So we need to know where the convicted felons who are armed last said they're going to live. Let's put their photos up. Let's let the people tell law enforcement, hey, I think that person's living down the street. Because all we get is nonstop excuses as to why we can't seem to be able to go and pick those people up and get them out of our neighborhoods. 10,000 convicted felons armed. But yet straws are illegal.
You know, and it is, there's a serious imbalance in Sacramento right now, and it's not serving people. It's aiding and abetting illegal aliens. I say illegal aliens, not immigrants, them before U.S. citizens, and it seems to be aiding the felon, or should be felon now, person who's committed a misdemeanor. And now we see in some areas, you know, safe places where you can shoot up.
Yes, coming to a neighborhood near you,
it's not
to a
okay.
house near you or an office near you, we will have the safe site to go shoot up illegal drugs.
Right, and this is not okay.
We how to provide safe school environments. And if criminal organizations distribute drugs in our schools, so you know what? This assembly decided to give in to them and say, you know what? You're right. Let's just continue to use our schools as a way to distribute your drugs. And by the way, we'll set up safe shooting houses so they could go shoot up heroin.
It's
God,
it's lunacy.
But members of the assembly.
I do agree with you, though, about the armed felons. There's no reason why there shouldn't be a reporting system, because currently on the federal level, I mean, felons shouldn't be armed.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the ones they have been arresting, they find not with a gun or two, hundreds of guns and thousands of rounds.
Now I want to make
got off the reservation and bought a gun by mistake. There's a deliberate plan when you own 300 and 400 guns and the ammo to go with them, and you're a convicted felon.
Right. Now, I want to make a distinction, though, because it's important for people to hear. You are a supporter of the Second Amendment, correct?
Yes.
Right.
Law-abiding citizens are not the problem.
Right.
They've
so
never
I
been
want to
the
make sure and make that distinction, because I don't want
they
people
are
to
actually
say
the
he wants to
solution.
take guns. No. You don't. You want to make sure that felons, convicted felons, not assumed felons, convicted felons, no longer
in
are
California,
armed.
it's not easy to get convicted as a felon on top of that.
Right. Right.
So these criminals rose to the level where the state of California said they're a convicted felon. We know they went out and illegally purchased arms as a convicted felon. As we discover with the newspaper reporting that goes on, a lot of times when they do run across one of these characters, they're finding out they're armed for a small civil war in our neighborhoods.
Right. Right.
That's wrong.
There is an issue when it's difficult for a law-abiding citizen to attain a firearm, yet a felon doesn't seem to have a problem having multiple guns. You know, so now we know you support the Second Amendment, First Amendment rights. Obviously, you support our First Amendment rights. I know where you stand. You're a conservative.
We're making sure we teach our children what is it that makes up the First Amendment. Because right now we got a lot of crazy shouting going on, you know, on both ends of the spectrum, and we need to make sure that element, such as I was at a parade Monday, and there were people handing out communist newspapers. Okay, but has anybody taken one of those and taught our children this is what communism's about? Not that you want to shut down that newspaper, but we need to educate our children. If you want to understand communism and socialism, go take a look at what's going on in Venezuela. You'll figure it out real fast. It's not a good solution for anything. Right. We don't want to restrict their right. Matter of fact, we want to use the fact that we got the greatest rights on the face of the earth given by God to teach our children. We do have some views that are pretty far out there, but we need to know the difference between right and wrong, and we're not doing that a lot.
No, and I think that's one of the parts of the problem, and the piece of the puzzle is that we have news networks, newspapers and what have you that are pushing a perspective and agenda as opposed to pushing and promoting the news and
Right.
community outreach type issues. And it gets to the point where then they're starting to use these newspaper rags as an arm of a certain party as opposed to serving the people. And there needs to be a distinction because people take this information as fact.
Well, not only that, but we're not teaching anybody what are the consequences of their behaviors.
Right.
You take a look, how many of our children today and how many of our young adults understand Ronald Reagan freed about 100 million people from the shackles of communism? You got to remember, we
what
have
that
everybody
means.
trying to come here.
Right.
Nobody is trying to escape to Cuba or Venezuela. But people come here
Or
because
China.
we are
Or China.
the land of the free.
Or China, or
Yes.
I mean, I've spoken to some individuals from Vietnam, and they say the oppression over there that they have a much better living environment than say even many other places do, but still the hold on the people is so strong, and people want to legally immigrate here to the United States for that opportunity, for the Bill of Rights and for the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, and the U.S. Constitution, everything that this country was founded on.
Yes.
And it's so important that we have people like you who want to protect those inalienable rights as given by God, and also defend the California Constitution, because that's an important part of what you'll be doing.
Yes.
In the assembly. So we've heard about the straws, the crazy legislation. Where do you stand on this universal health care issue that many assemblymen are talking about right now as the state being a solution for health care in California? We've seen it has failed with Obamacare.
Well, it's a great idea because a lot of ideas are great, but nobody's been able to explain how do we pay for the $400 billion with a B price tag that universal health care would provide. Nobody has a clue. And part of the problem is they don't want to be honest and say income taxes might double or triple. Because right now we bring in roughly over $200 billion a year for the state budget.
Right.
So to do another $400 billion, we would literally have to triple taxation. That's the part they don't want to talk about. It's more fun to talk about health care for everybody, because that way we can serve everybody. It's just nobody has an idea of how to pay for it.
Well, they'll get people who aren't paying attention to vote and support these agendas and support their campaigns. Certainly, they'll get that. But again, like you say, $400 billion, that's a lot of money. And with our current budget and our current taxation rates, I mean, they were saying I could only find newspapers that said between 2% to 3.5%, 4%, somewhere in there, raised tax rates. That's not even close.
Well, and then the problem is we've chased roughly 1 million people out of California. Middle class.
Right.
So states like Texas, Arizona, Nevada,
Colorado.
Washington, and Oregon, they're saying thank you, California. You sent us hardworking middle class people that simply can't stand and afford your state, and they're now living in our states, contributing to our economy. We got to step back and realize the direction that this assembly is taking this state is a direction that continues to export people. That has got to stop. We've got to realize you can't continue to export the middle class to the point where we don't have one, because we
Right.
exported it to everybody else, and then yet we've become the poverty capital of America. We got these Garcetti bills, as they call them, tent cities that pop up everywhere, and yet he's running around Iowa and New Hampshire and Ohio wanting to be president. And I'm like, why don't you come back and take care of your people first and demonstrate
Right.
that you have that skill set, instead of sitting around and dreaming about what color the Oval Office is going to be. We have serious problems, as you said before, and that's what I said, we need serious people to work on them. If
Right.
you want to help homelessness, government has turned out to be the worst solution. Mayor Garcetti did an article a couple months ago. They went through 10 years of litigation up by Venice to finally get the right to put in portable bathrooms and showers for 4 months, and another court shut them down.
Mm.
So we're going to tell the homeless people, you got to wait 10 years to go to the bathroom so government can figure out what to do and litigate it. No, I'm sorry. The solution is nonprofits should be able to apply for block grant funding. The nonprofits know how to take care of the homeless better than government does. Let them get these grants.
Well, that's the reason
on an
why we
annual
have
basis
nonprofits.
or multi-year basis, and then let's have government go in and audit them to make sure the money went where it's supposed to. Our nonprofits know what to do. They care and love serving others better than anybody. Let's, for the sake of helping other humans, give them the money that they deserve and they need. They will go out and help make sure the homeless come off the streets much better than any government or organization.
Well, and they can
ever
also,
dreamed of.
and you know, that's one of the reasons why we have that nonprofit component. I mean, as well as because then other people, philanthropists, other people can invest in them, and then they can work. They have volunteers. They have different formats to be able to facilitate and work with some of these programs. But and we've seen this. I actually was looking at Texas. They were dealing in Austin with some of these issues because they're turning out to be like a little mini California over there. But it was interesting.
Too many of our people.
But it was interesting how they were using that nonprofit component and really working to serve the people. And it does. It works far better than government ever can. Government is not efficient, as we all know.
Well, see, the VA realizes that. They
Yes.
try to outsource as much as possible, knowing the VA as a government entity is the worst way to try to deliver any service. Just look at how they do healthcare service. That hasn't worked real well for a long time. So we know
Right.
government's not efficient. Let's do what government can do well, which is get the revenue, give them to the nonprofits, and then challenge our nonprofits to grow their business of helping others. And then as long as they are meeting the requirements and can go through the audits, the government ought to say, thank you, and we would like you to apply for a multi-year grant because you seem to be doing it very well. We have none of that going on right now.
Right.
And that's got to change.
Right. Now, where do you stand on auditing the DMV? This is a very hot topic. I've heard it over and over and over again. People are very dissatisfied. And apparently they're not being successful in Sacramento getting to the point of being able to audit the DMV. The DMV just wants blank checks to do whatever they want. Where do you stand on this?
It's sad because we need to audit. Any government agency should be able to sit down and testify before any committee and say, you can audit us because we want to prove that we are good stewards of the taxpayers' money. That's not coming out of the DMV.
Right.
And that's
I mean,
problem.
you can go to AAA and get almost all of the same services, right? And so it beckons the question, if we're pouring all of this money into
Yes.
an organization like the DMV, what is it that they're really doing? And as we see, it's like the Department of Entropy. I mean, they don't, just long lines, your appointment time is 2 hours behind and what have you. I mean, it's good to hear that you're willing to stand up for that, for any organization.
And the sad part is if people
Within
want to know
government.
how universal health care would be run in California, simply go to the DMV.
It's simple.
That's the example. It's not bad-mouthing them. It's the real-world example of how government will run an organization unchecked. And that's
Right.
the problem that you brought up. The unchecked part needs to stop.
Right. I like what you have to say there. Now, I really am so grateful that you made the time to come on the Erin Cruz Show and to speak to our listeners and also the constituents in your district, District 58. Mike, could you just repeat your name, just 30 seconds about your platform, and then give people information on, where they can get involved, contribute, and volunteer?
Thank you, Erin. My name is Mike Simpfenderfer, and I am running for the 58th Assembly District. If you go to my website, MikeCaresAboutUs.com, that website hopefully says to you a lot of where I'm coming from. The Assembly just wrapped up. This was the year of the criminal. The criminals got the laws. The criminals got the red carpet treatment. We didn't. We got the shaft. And I will not idly go by and allow this to continue to happen. I'm going to stand up for us, our children. I know what it's like to defend a child that was sexually assaulted. We moved to Bellflower for her own safety. I've dealt with people that have tried to commit suicide in my family, and I'm not saying this for anybody to feel sorry. I'm saying this so that people will understand. I know what the shoes look like of trying to protect children and trying to make sure that they are safe that our grandparents are safe, that we are safe, and that we have good jobs that will actually stay here in California and employ our people so they can buy homes. We have too much of a focus on, well, you know what? We should reduce the criminal. We should really give him a break. And we should, instead of 8 years, we should really let him out in 2 years. I'm sorry, I will not buy into that theory of the criminal deserves the attention and the better focus than we do. I'm about taking care of us because we do come first. I hope you'll go to the website. I need all the help that we can get. It is an upstart campaign, insurgent campaign. One of my big advantages, the Democratic Party cut off Cristina Garcia. In May, they announced that she is no longer on their website, their mailers. So that's a signal that the party on the other side wants nothing to do with her behaviors. So I'm asking people to vote for me and hire me because you do deserve better.
Well,
I appreciate your time today.
There you have it, everybody. We have Mike here. He's from the 58th District. Walkaways, people who are fed up, people who are Democrats, take a look at his platform. Get involved. Call him up. Talk to him. Find out more. I believe he really wants to do the good work for you. And even if you aren't 100% aligned, I'm sure his office will be open and you can voice your concerns and questions. Thank you again, Mike, for being on the Erin Cruz Show.
Thank you, Erin. Thank you for your time.
To hear more and to learn more on how you can make an impact or about the Erin Cruz Show, visit us online at erincruz.com. That's ERINCRUZ.com.